So it's good that TV's going. We can't.
Somebody had a vision for CEO.
We're just echoing, so. Okay.
I was one of the first people we met there.
Yeah.
I was had a great. Yeah. But he has attempted different.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's not on that.
I ain't sure, but he's gonna be
That's road, do the industrial. But there wasn't. It was kind of defined, right?
Trying to fit the petitioners. You ready?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you at 7? At 6:50.
Somebody just. Anyway, we'll talk. Elizabeth will say to you, it's amazing that people work.
Yes. Can you hear us?
It's true.
Joe, Bill, Attorney Mark, Monique, can you guys hear us? Are we still muted?
What's the big things?
We can hear you.
I can hear you.
Appreciate
This is
that.
Attorney Mark Lawrence.
Hi, Mark.
I'm Mark.
Hi,
Who's the one that has the image of the road? What does that say? South Burlington?
It's us. It's
That's
me.
us?
It's my computer.
That's your, oh,
Yeah.
that's your left. I got you.
Yeah.
I don't see here.
So 6:58.
Somebody want to say, we'll be official. And this is. Yes. That's,
Six 59.
The tension's killing me.
Oh, we're in person. Yeah. You were told you were on one thing.
Wow. It's so good. I can't believe how real she's.
Jenny, you guys have amazing.
She's here.
It's like she's right there. It's unbelievable. Hologram.
Okay.
Actually, though, for real, this records really well, this owl. And whoever's talking, it will like go to their face and you know what I mean? That's great.
Forward us to the IT people and the Berwick campers.
We have one of those.
No, I was there.
You guys have your own computer, that's great.
I
We
guess.
have this owl, but it's great. So, it's really great.
All right, I think we're close enough, yeah?
Yep.
7 o'clock.
7 p.m.
Great. We are going to start. We will start with a public hearing on SP 23003. 3-lot subdivision on Lord Lane extension. We'll take comment first. And then we'll close out and begin our regular meeting. Is there anybody here who wanted to speak about that?
They shift an easel with this chair here.
Do you want to go actually over there by the podium?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool, you can bring your chair if you want.
Sounds, I might hold one of those. I know.
Are you here for?
I'm here for the applicant.
Okay, so this is our public hearing piece.
Yeah.
Where we let the public speak, so wait
Okay.
until we get to our old business and then we're gonna hear from you.
Okay. sounds
Okay,
good.
is that cool? Excellent. Was anybody here from the public who wanted to speak on this? Okay, oh, anybody on Zoom? I'm sorry, thank you. Zoom land. Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm closing our public hearing. We are starting our regular meeting. Please rise if you would like for the pledge of allegiance. And Jen, please start us off.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America. And to the republic, which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will do some introductions, especially since we are hosting the Berwick Planning Board. Thank you very much for coming. If you want to start down here, work our way down. A name and your role would be great.
Don Ganarelli on the planning board. Paul Amatucci, I am on the planning board, Berwick.
Gary Grabo, planning board member.
Irish Griffith, Borough Code Enforcement Officer.
Bill Roy, vice chair, Berwick planning board.
Matthew Scott Henry for planning board.
Thank you, and I'm sure I forget every one of your names by the time we get to it. Okay, and we all have our name tags, so we will. We have one little bit of business we have to do. Chris, have you read all the documentation related to the Sandville Estates Phase 3 application? Yes, I have. Okay, I'm going to impanel you those, so then we have a quorum. And also note that as 3 people, as a 3-person quorum to vote anything in the affirmative, we all need to agree. Yes, to pass anything. Okay, great. I'm gonna go on to. Oh, yeah, I know, no, I know. I got it. You good? All right, I will ask if there are any comments from the public related to anything that is not on the agenda. So not Sandville Estates and not Lord's Lane Extension and not our ordinance amendment. Anything else? Going once, going twice. Great. We'll move on to, oh, sorry, Zoom land. God, thanks, Steph. Okay, no. You know, do me a favor. If anybody out there on Zoom wants to say something, just shout out really loudly, unmute and just make sure you're heard in case I forget or Zach doesn't remind me. Okay, we're going to go on to the approval of our meeting minutes from April 5th. Any amendments?
Just a, like, it looks like a typo, 995.
Oh. Good, all right. Mr. Dallin points out that under S, is it the S?
Yes, and then it says states that there are no shoreland district, which is, I don't understand what that means.
There is, I think there's probably, there
It
is,
should say states that this is not in the shoreland method. Or is? I mean, I didn't understand by what it was written there, I'm sorry. Do you know?
So what it should say
is,
is that Mr. Belzor points out that in the findings facts under S, which is that standard, right?
Yep.
State that it says it's not in the shoreline. We'll fix that. It's not-
Okay. All right, anything else?
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
I will entertain a motion to accept as amended.
So moved.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. We will move on. Oops, hold on, I gotta get back to my agenda. All right. we have before us an ordinance amendment for chapter 40, table A. You will find it in your packet, so I'll find it for a second there. Okay, so at the moment, table A has a designation. For each of our zones, if you see public, recreational facilities, libraries, museums, civic centers, post office are enumerated as needing a major site plan review, but what is lacking and what the amendment would be to add municipal buildings. I personally don't have a problem with this, if you would like to comment. Either,
I guess I would imagine, is this typical, what expected is in most planning definitions?
Is what typical, adding
Include-
municipal building?
In municipal buildings, in general. It seems like the other ones are in the same genre, so it seems to me that I don't have any issue on that. I just was wondering if,
This is appropriate.
looking at other statements would make sense to me.
and especially since we already allow. That, yes,
Yeah.
Other buildings that look.
sorry, Chris, did you want
Meet
to?
that definition, it just seems like it's a broadening of the definition, it's not an easy.
All right,
No other comments.
any other comments? All right, I will once again take the motion.
So motion that we accept the ordinance amendment, chapter 40.
Second.
40 table A. Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
So Hershey will set a public hearing next. For the
yes.
3rd of May.
3rd of May?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Jen. Public hearing, 3rd of May.
You'll have to vote on that.
We do. Just to set a hearing, okay. Do I need a motion then? If we have to vote?
Yeah, to send it to public hearing at 7 PM on May 3rd, yes. For the
I
record.
move we send it to a public hearing on May 3rd.
Thank you, Chris.
I second that.
Excellent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Thank you.
good, all right. We're moving on now to old business. SB 23003, David Springer, 3-lot subdivision, Lord's Lane extension. This is our final plan review. And you are going to present. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. My name is Austin Fagan. I'm here with BH2M Engineers out of Gorham, Maine, representing Scott Holland for the project. Small introduction to the project for those of you who don't know about it. This is a proposed 3-lot subdivision off of Lord's Lane Extension. It is off of an existing road. No additional roadway infrastructure will need to be created in order to split these lots. And let's see, recently, Mike Hampton Associates was on site, performed a preliminary septic test pit, and we found that there are acceptable soils on site for septics. No additional roadway or stormwater infrastructure will need to be created since it is on an existing road. So it's about as straightforward as it gets. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And thank you.
There is a question from our police chief, so I'm just gonna relay that, about whether we can contemplate, this isn't really for us to contemplate, though, I assume, egress or entrance turning lanes. So is that something that, you will be in touch with DOT about, or you've thought about pursuing?
For turning lanes in and out of the properties.
Yeah.
I believe that these are just gonna be single driveways coming onto it. If it is not a DOT roadway, then the curb cuts will be permitted by the town. So I think that would be part of the building permit process.
So
I
that's,
don't, I mean, from 236 onto Lord's Lane Extension. I know it already exists,
Mhm.
but there's nothing really there. So
Okay.
I don't think anybody's ever thought about the traffic issue.
Okay, yeah, that's not something that we have covered at this time. But if there is a question about it, I'm sure we can.
Mr. Chair, that will actually, that's a great question to hang on to, for the next phase of this project coming in front of the planning board.
Okay,
Okay,
all right, I got you. Thank you. All right, does anybody else have any questions or want to review the plans we have a set here? I'll turn your attention to the findings of facts and the conditions of approval you have in your packet. I have reviewed and I had no issue with them. If anybody has any questions, now's your chance. Permits. Private septic. There's no water. The public water supply. The wetlands have been designated. All good?
No flooding.
That's fine. I will, we're ready for the vote on,
So you're gonna
Yep.
vote to approve the final plan and application complete first,
yep,
and then findings of fact and conditions of approval after, if you choose, and read the conditions out loud. for the record.
okay, I heard that. Who knew? Okay. All right, so I will need a motion. To accept, as final the plans,
So much.
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I will read the conditions and then we will take a motion on that. Conditions, provide the recorded deed for each lot before building permits are approved, and 2, Director of Public Works will approve driveway entrances before the start of construction, and 3, erosion and sediment control plans will be provided with each building permit application if necessary. 4, record subdivision plan and FOF with York County Registry of Deeds within 30 days of planning board approval and signature. 5, any modifications to the site plan as approved prior to being made must also be reviewed and approved by the planning board. I will take a motion to accept findings of facts and the conditions.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
So if you guys want to just take a quick minute and you can sign the findings of fact for the applicant and also sign the plans in front of you. Do you have a
I have a set of plans.
perfect, thank you.
They're not mine anymore, are they?
Anywhere you want me to set these?
If you want to give them right to the chair.
Oh, thank you so much. Everybody knows my real name. I hate that. Okay. What is today, the 19th?
It's so good.
All right. Sorry, bear with us here for Wikians. Have to understand that. All of us are gonna sign this, yes?
I think so.
Greg isn't going to sign this at all, right? Do
Nope,
you want me to amend this to say vice chair?
yep, but you're not the acting chair.
I am the acting chair, we'll just leave it then.
Yep.
Where?
I feel so powerful.
You are.
Yeah, I'm not really, but okay, all right. Oh, wait, you have to sign. Each one, two, right?
And while you guys are signing, you have a findings of fact and a set of plans over here that also need to be signed for the things, the regular listing project. That's all ready for you.
Next one. Yep,
At the end, if you
we'll do
want.
that on our way out. If you remind us, it'd be great. Thanks. Thank you, Jen.
Okay.
We'll get right to it. Excellent.
So you can check it flag.
All right. I'm gonna hand those back to you before they get confused with everything else sitting on here.
But, yeah, I'm ready to-
All right. Right.
First, you hold on one second.
Just rolling,
It's,
rolling.
yeah. here we go. Yeah, have a good night. Yeah, see ya.
Let me see how you did this. Okay,
Okay, keep going.
okay.
Very similar.
All right, our next order of business is MSP 22 003 Stanville Estates. A 35 lot subdivision on Meadow Pond Road. We are in major site plan review. It is a cluster subdivision, which we already accepted, and we're at preliminary plan stage. So I want to welcome, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
The Berwick board knows me, but I'm Hannah Boney in Southern Maine Planning and Development. Working.
Excellent, and you were the one who's written us a memo about this and it has taken a deeper dive. Is there someone here representing the project?
Yeah, Madam Chair. Ken Wood, Matter Engineering, Carol Mick, the landowner is here with me also. I also didn't get it.
No worries, that works. Can you pull that out from behind the? There we go. Close enough.
Last time both boards saw this presentation was when you approved the sketch plan on January 4th. I'll go through some of the same things. It's 174 acres. It's map 13, lot 17, 17A and 100. It's in the R3 district, 80,000 square feet. Density is required. When we do all the density calcs, we end up with about 70 acres of developable. So 35 lots are allowed on the parcel, and we propose 35 lots. You probably remember at the January meeting, we had two plans in front of you, a conventional plan, a yield plan, which the ordinance requires, and a cluster plan. And this board agreed with us to go forward with the cluster plan. At that time, and also in this submittal, we, I believe, resolved all the environmental concern. There are no significant vernal pools that aren't man-made. There was a turtle study done by Stantec. They found no spotted turtles. There was a rabbit study done by Corey Stearns at IFNW. There were no New England cottontail found. IFNW Derek Yorks also had no issue with black races, all the species that are concerned. We also gave you correspondence from the Maine Natural Areas Program, where there were no species of significance, and the Maine Historic Preservation Commission, where there were no historic properties. I noticed that Hannah or Lee had brought up a DEP permit. We did file for a site location development project amendment, because Meadow Pond Estates, now called Samville Phase 1 and Phase 2, has a site location development permit. So under the permit rules, we're required to file an amendment, which we did on February 28th. Traffic, we had provided you information from our traffic engineer, Diane Moravito. No high crash locations on either Route 4 and Knights Pond, Harvey Road. The site distance is adequate. We will usually a single family home results in 10 trips per day per dwelling. So that's what the traffic engineer also stipulated. She breaks it down in addition to daily trips into peak AM trips, PM trips. We have had some discussion on whether there will be a Knox box, a gated lot that's available to fire and safety and police from both Berwick and South Berwick to separate Industry Road from Meadow Pond Road. Right now, our plan has it. There's been discussion with fire and safety from both towns and also with the board. Our traffic engineer has responded by email saying that if the boards and the department heads don't have any issue without having the gated access, in other words, this development would be accessible from either Industry Drive or Meadow Pond Road, that would probably be the best scenario. If not, she doesn't have any issues with a gated access. At some point, if the board or boards would like, since I'm not an expert in traffic, we'll be glad to bring Diane Moravito down. She certainly has more traffic experience than I do. Other than that, I hope that you find our application complete and send us on to the next step. I think that was a recommendation of the planning commission. Glad to answer any questions. And next time I'll bring an easel.
No worries. So actually, Hannah, would you mind walking us all through your memo? Because I think the issues we're gonna want to talk about, especially with Berwick, seem to be around the road. And since you mentioned these, it'd be great if you sort of discuss that, what you think are the things we'd like to address.
Hey, Erin, there's a packet down here if you want to call.
So I guess the first point of discussion that has been a point of discussion since this project started is whether or not you want the gate. I understand the arguments for and against the gate, and I think the board seemed to be kind of split last time and recommended some additional information from the applicant as far as potential traffic calming measures that could be put in within the development in the case of not having the gate. The primary issue with not having the gate was potential industrial traffic going through the neighborhood. I believe the board had requested some potential ideas as far as that goes. Other than that, the concept of having the closed gate, there's discussion about safety, you know, can the residents, or there would be the Knox box for emergency departments to get in, but the residents can't get out as easily as they could if there was an open access there, but then a truck could also come through there from the other direction. So there's lots to weigh as far as the gate is concerned. If the board does want to go through with having the gate, though, we would suggest a turnaround on the neighborhood side of the gate. For if there were school buses that went in there, if, you know, anybody else drives up the gate, somewhere to turn around right there. The gate was going to be closed most of the time. Let's see.
Let's take this one at a time then on
Yeah,
the
I think
issue.
that's about
So,
one.
and I would love to hear about where Berwick is at about the road access to begin with, since, you know. Yes,
If I may, Madam Chair, Phil Roy, Vice Chair for Planning Board. I'm just getting smart on this project myself, but it's my understanding that the gate is to preclude industrial traffic. Is that correct?
I believe that's the main intention, and correct me if I'm wrong from that.
So would we be better served as a community? I just see if we put a gate up there and it becomes a safety issue, one, even if we have a Knox box, how much is that delaying fire, EMS, police being able to respond? If the issue is simply just industrial traffic, why don't we post a weight limit on the road and enforce it? And that way, we're being good stewards to the community. We're being good stewards to the people who are going to occupy these dwellings. And I'm just throwing that out there as an idea. And I'd like your thoughts on that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, I think personally, I think the gate may become an issue more than it's a help. As far as the traffic is concerned, it allows not even just emergency situations, it allows 2 points of access for the neighborhood, so everybody isn't going through that existing subdivision that's already there. That's the other access point. And through Industrial Drive is the more direct access back up to Route 4. Space wise, it makes more sense just to go right out there and then blah, 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 through the other development.
Is that something Berwick is, or South Berwick is amenable to?
hold on one sec. I
Yeah.
let me get your
Trying to get
comment.
really
Devin.
going. Could we make that a one-way road going out?
Oh, so I did.
Which part?
The,
Instead of having a gate, just make it a one-way road going out of the subdivision.
Hmm.
so when you exit the subdivision on the far end.
Right.
And you get to Industrial Drive, whatever that little connectors would be one way out.
With the exception of if an emergency vehicle needs to come in, it doesn't matter. They're gonna go through one way or not one way. But I think it would keep or preclude other traffic from just thinking they can go through there.
Please.
I had Irish Griffith Code Enforcement Forward. I had a meeting with my town manager just before I left for here, and he wanted me to make sure that our board members and your board members are aware that he has absolutely no preference on a gate or not. He sees both sides as well.
Sure.
So
I'm gonna wait and just quickly in saying that I was not clear that we had resolved what would be the main road into the project to begin with. And while Industrial Drive doesn't seem appropriate, having been down there and seen what's there. I also know that a lot of the existing residents in the existing two subdivisions weren't happy about people having more traffic through their neighborhood, and I'm not really sure there's a great resolution to this. Unless anybody else has any great ideas. Also, I know that if it is a second means of egress, I think, and Hannah, is this, am I understanding what you wrote, that there'd have to be improvements to Industrial Drive, right?
Yeah, and
And that's,
since, yeah, the industrial drive, whether it's gated or not, is the second point of egress out of the neighborhood. There will have to be improvements. made to that road.
Madam Chair, one of the issues on Industrial Drive, and we've done a few site walks, and I could be, I'm willing to concede, I may be thinking about the wrong
No,
Industrial Drive, but I seem to recall, and maybe my fellow board members can correct me if I'm mistaken, but there is and I don't want to use the term unimproved, but there is a culvert that connects the wetlands. And I don't believe that is probably rated for the volume of traffic that would be going through there. And
I don't know if this makes a difference for you, but that's one of James's conditions, is that an industry drive would have to be finished to town standards, so that would probably get. but it doesn't matter.
so I think it would be important, and I don't know if it's something that you guys could condition or we would condition, or how this works with the joint forum. But I think it's very important, one, to protect the wetlands by making that either an improved culvert or a bridge or a concrete fortification by, say, culvert. And who harbors that expense? You know, my gut would tell me that would be something we could condition on the developer, but I'm probably being overly naive, but just thinking out loud, and if we're gonna use that road and not put a gate on it, which is what my gut tells me right looks like, I think we improve that culvert, bridge, berm, whatever we're gonna call it, so we're not adversely affecting the wetlands and providing the best service to the people that are gonna be living there.
good point.
As a Paul Amatici, I agree that the road definitely needs improvement. I would also agree that with Don, that making it one way cuts down on the traffic, and because at that particular point on Route 4, it's 55 miles an hour. So getting out in 55-mile-an-hour traffic at certain times of the day could be a long way, which would build up traffic. That traffic then builds up into the industrial park where there's heavy equipment and trucks and that sort of thing. So I just think making it one way, so it's not coming in, going out, that sort of thing, is probably good in conjunction with that, and eliminate the gate.
Could I ask, Hannah, could I ask you a question? Would that satisfy the South Berwick ordinance
As far as,
that we're supposed to have two ways in and out of a subdivision? It's stipulating one way, and it's not really a full access, is it?
I mean, the physical road is there, so
Yes.
need be, you could drive on it regardless of the sign and say one way or not.
So that, so that would satisfy.
Without any further research, I would say so, yeah.
Thank you.
I assume it really is about emergency access, right?
Yeah,
In which
yeah.
case, you know.
They're gonna use it.
Yeah, yeah, so
They're
as
not
long as
gonna
the
look at the
emergency
sign.
vehicles can get in and out, no matter what the signage says, that probably will say yes, okay. Can I make a note in your memo,
Yeah.
that upgrading the road, you said, requires a subdivision amendment for the industrial subdivision in Berwick?
Yes,
Can you
so
explain that a little more?
Industrial Drive is a subdivision that was done
In
on
and
the
of
Berwick
itself.
side.
Gotcha.
So the changes to the road with the updates there would need a subdivision amendment on the Berwick side.
But that's not difficult in that it's an improvement, basically.
Yeah.
Right, so, okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, please.
a couple things. The Industrial Drive subdivision, I believe, has a DEP permit on it that had all the drainage incorporated on it. I believe most of that drainage was installed. Portions of the road probably need to be improved because they weren't completed. This culvert goes under industrial drive from one side to the other, or no?
I believe so, sir, but we've looked at a couple of
Okay.
dirt roads. I'm willing to
Yeah.
concede I could be mistaken, but
I'm thinking the culvert, cuts behind the existing buildings as you're looking at it from Route 4. There's
Yeah.
existing buildings on the right. It cuts behind those buildings, and there was a new building put up by Northern
Yeah,
Pool
we did that,
beyond it.
yeah. So,
And that was, that separates it.
right, so when we did the Northern Pool building, I believe the Berwick Planning Board asked us to verify that the drainage was installed. When Sam and Carol developed the Industrial Drive subdivision, the rules on the DEP end were that each site could be developed. There was a certain building envelope that was approved with the permit. And all the drainage was designed by civil consultants. And we'll verify, but I believe all the drainage was installed. So the road might there's a stretch that wasn't finished after where the cul-de-sac was roughed in. So I believe the cul-de-sac and any portion of the road that connects to Meadow Pond, our subdivision goes to the town line, would need to be improved. I'll give you the words verbatim of what our traffic engineer said, just to give you one more thing to think about. And this was January 6th. It was after the January 4th meeting. And she said, if the boards do not have concern with the mixing of industrial and residential traffic on Industry Drive, then I believe the best option is to leave both access points unrestricted. This allows residents to choose the path that is most convenient to their origin and destination, the shortest travel distance. And it is better for the planet as it minimizes travel and hence emissions. And we're open for anything. We're open for a gate. We're open for leaving it open, and then if that doesn't work, we can always install a gate or one-way traffic.
Ms. Chair, before you continue, can Hannah just clarify something for the Berwick board?
Yeah, please.
For the South Berwick board?
So to my understanding, as far as the amendment on the Berwick side goes, they do not need to go to Berwick and apply for at a Berwick meeting. You don't need to review this at one of your own individual meetings. You can make the vote for the amendment here. Still needs to happen, but you guys can do it at one of these joint meetings. You don't need to have your own separate Berwick official.
That's good for our board to know. Thank you.
So I guess my comment is, I'm not totally sold on Industrial Drive as a second means of egress, because we did have a discussion, I remember last time, that there is heavy machinery, it's industrial, your traffic study person points it out themselves, that if we feel comfortable mixing those, and I think a lot of us actually didn't last time we spoke about this. And so the question would be, is there any other option for how to create another egress there for the property?
I don't believe there's any other options now.
What precludes those options?
Having frontage on another road.
I just want to say, I remember can I see your plan again? There is an undeveloped piece of land the other side of the industrial subdivision.
That's in Northborough?
Well, this right here,
That's not owned by us.
right?
That's owned by Manley,
Yes,
And he's
it is
gonna-
actually.
and he's developed it.
He has?
He's got a building on it, I believe.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh, I thought it was completely empty.
No, I don't think so. I think Manley has a building on it up right here. If you're at the Northern Pool and Spa Lot here,
Yeah.
and this lot's quite a bit lower in grade. I think Manley has developed it, and there's, I believe there's a building up here and there's trucks behind it,
Right.
and we don't own that piece.
Hershey. Can we, make conditions that the improvement would be to make residential traffic acceptable? I mean, that kind of, that's in Berwick.
I
think at some point, so
Well,
that's where,
I think part of the problem is, number one is it's an industrial zone.
yeah.
It's in Berwick. And it's their road.
Yeah.
And it's not even a matter of who owns it. I think it's industrial. That's how it's zoned.
Mhm.
So we would have to be comfortable saying that is an acceptable solution to egresses. The gate, I'm not even at the gate yet. I'm still at, we've got 2 ways into this, and do we feel okay about, going through Industrial Drive or sending people in and out that way? So, yeah. I don't know if anybody else wants to go back to our former, please.
Madam Chair, I feel pretty strongly that having seen that area, I do understand that the implications of traffic going through the industrial area. But I feel strongly that if that road were properly developed,
Mhm.
The speed limit was appropriate. And I'm torn on the one way. I could go either way on that. But if you put up a sign to the entrance of the subdivision, weight limit not to exceed, that way your industrial traffic cannot go through that subdivision either way. I think we're getting the best of everything and we're providing your citizens in that subdivision the best option. And we're not risking public safety. And
I have a question. Does anybody know the distance from Route 4? How much of industrial drive before we get to the? What's the distance before we actually get to the subdivision?
It's probably 400 or 500 feet.
So I think we did establish last time, it was about 500 feet.
Yeah.
Right, that's what we, it's a sound project, but yeah.
Right, is
Right,
there,
is it 500? It is about.
It's about a mile all the way back.
No, it's not.
it was done.
Oh, I meant, is there a lot of that industrial?
But what, well, hold on, but that's just town line. Berwick only owns 500 feet, and then it's town line, and then it's back, right?
We put in, we'd end up with,
Just want to make sure everyone's clear.
Just the road.
like more than.
Right.
All right, so let's try to wrap up this part of our discussion, I guess. Is there any other comments from either planning board?
The only other comment James asked me to make sure was received was that the DOT permit for industry drive would need to be updated as well as part of this.
Okay,
We'll find out.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but it definitely was a question.
all right.
Thank you.
So, and can we resolve the gate, no gate? I personally also don't really think the gate would be,
let's take a vote.
yeah,
Madam Chair, if it's at your pleasure.
okay. Who's in favor of a gate? This is a straw poll. This isn't a motion. This is just a,
If they.
Yes.
independently. You can vote to-
it's not, I don't think, we're not gonna take an official vote about this. We're just,
Just informal
yeah, I think we can just get. a straw-
information gathering.
Yeah, exactly. Who wants a gate? Are you
Like
sure
your
you-
style, man.
Thank you. I'm not a big Robert's Rules fan. You might have noticed to begin with.
I mean, I think given the options suggested.
So before you guys discuss.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
you're talking about the gate on Industry Drive
yes,
specifically,
Yes.
correct?
yes.
Great,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay,
I think there was also discussion about, well, if we don't want the gate on Industry Drive, maybe there's the gate at the other end, right?
Well, that's on you guys. That's not-
That's on
That's
us.
true.
Berwick says no more fences, okay? We're,
Yeah, we're putting fences everywhere.
especially between birds.
you got a point.
Yeah,
So as far as the gate goes, at Industry Drive.
And Industry Drive, yeah.
Exactly.
I guess my opinion would be rather than vote one way or the other is there are alternatives proposed. It seems like they would mitigate the need for gate and I'm
Well, you-
personally
you-
more in favor
You
of.
have a choice of voting for a gate or not a
Yeah.
gate, and then we can discuss what the next. That will move us to the
How
next.
about not a gate if some other alternative is
Okay,
made?
all right. I
Because
see
I
a
think
lot of
that's a
nodding. Is there
necessity.
anybody who really wants
Well,
a
just
gate?
remember. our
That's putting anybody on the spot. Be brave. No?
I don't want to gate.
Okay,
I don't want one.
none of us want a gate.
No.
Okay, that's clear. All right, and so I'm gonna, we put out some options. It's not for us to tell people how to engineer, so Ken is writing them down. The idea of a one-way or signage or mitigating traffic through there in a different way.
So
Wait, and
Weight
wait.
limit.
Weight
Weight
limit.
limit.
So the one-way and weight limit is just to preclude industrial traffic from going through Meadow Pond.
Correct.
It still allows the residential traffic to go out.
That's my vision, sir.
Does it allow the residential traffic to come in?
Or not.
So that's, I think we still have to suss out, do we want that to be a one-way or not a one-way? I'm not hard over one way or the other. I just, my gut tells me those residents are gonna be really angry if they have industrial traffic rolling through their
Of
neighborhood.
course, and I don't really picture industrial traffic going through
No,
there, but I
right.
think you're right. If you restrict
If you
the
put up
industrial
appropriate
traffic from going
signage.
through Meadow Pond. So maybe we're talking about either signage or a portion of it being.
I think
And improvements
most of
required.
them are covered.
Okay.
I
Yes,
feel
and
confused.
improvements, yes, sir.
Well, and I think this might not be the worst compromise in that people who then live in this third subdivision can exit that way and take some of the burden off of the other two,
Exactly.
even though they might have to enter that way.
You also said
if it doesn't work, they just have to know that a gate will be put up.
Yeah. Just
Right.
like the option.
It threats.
Okay.
Nobody said that.
Consequences.
Well, you know, that will be down the line. Hopefully, we won't have to go there. Okay.
Chair, I think I see the direction and perhaps you'd like me to get a suggestion from the traffic engineer. And if we do get to the point of a public hearing, I plan on bringing her here anyway.
Excellent.
So maybe for the next meeting, I could at least, hopefully you'll find our application complete, but I could come back with some suggestions on how either the posting or the one-way or the no industrial traffic works in her mind, since she's
Yeah.
experienced.
Great. All right, I think we're done with those first two paragraphs. I'm looking at the memo. There's a suggestion. Hannah, do you want to go to the next point, or are you okay if I just represent you?
You can go ahead. I'll clarify.
Sure, I think, since some of these studies, and I'm so sorry, but, these were done in 2018 to 2020. It is 3 years later, and it might then, we asked that maybe you update some
Would
of
I
your,
just update them through IFNW for status?
yes, that would be
Okay.
great.
So, Madam Chair, we can't move on because we need to clarify something real quick.
Okay,
All right, ready?
please,
Ready?
please.
So let's go back to the one way for a second, because we're gonna need this clarified for some minutes here. So. Hannah confused me more now. No, I'm just kidding. So we're talking about a one way into the subdivision or out of the subdivision, right?
I think out of the house.
Okay, out of the subdivision onto Industry Drive to Route 4. But Industry Drive isn't a one way now, and it can't be. So who are
That's a good
we
point.
giving a one way to? So we can't hang a one way sign on that road and say, traffic only flows one way. Because you have Shapley, you have Northern Pool and Spa, and all those businesses that
No,
use
no,
that.
no, no, I
as a
think the point
two-way
is
road.
there's a
It would
piece
be
of,
at the intersection.
right, I think the point is there's a stretch of road that's still part of the subdivision before it joins in industry,
I
right?
just want to clarify that.
Yes.
Thank
No,
you.
yeah,
I'm-
no,
I'm
no, we're not,
better now.
Industry Drive remains the same, sorry, just that little,
At some point where it becomes the residential.
is it
area,
Oscar
that's-
Court, is that the name of the road?
I believe
You've
so.
named it already, great, okay.
So Oscar Court.
Who's Oscar?
He's a grouch.
I would say, so somewhere between here is where.
I got it.
Is there a stretch that you want there? Okay. So
That was my next joke, right? You beat us to it.
All right, do you wanna,
I'm good.
are you good?
No, I'm
All right,
good now, thanks.
I'm putting this over here for.
The more you talk about it.
There's a your plan, okay.
So I think, Ms. McCabe, if I'm correct, the gentleman from Atar Engineering said he was gonna get some input from the traffic engineer and then see what worked best, whether it was the one way or whether it was keeping that a two-way and the gate. So I think that's important that we seek their input.
Mr. Vice Chair, I was just clarifying for the minutes to make sure that they weren't turning Industry Drive into a one way because that's
gotcha.
not possible.
Okay,
So I wanted
understood.
just to clarify that for the public and for this video.
Thank you.
Thank
Great.
you.
All right, back we go. You're getting updates, you say? From,
Yes,
okay, great.
we will verify that all the studies we did in Page Book are still valid. And that the two IFNW studies, because they did the Black Racer and the Cottontails are still valid. So we'll verify those with IFNW.
Okay,
Usually a town relies on a study. Some towns, most towns are 10 years, I believe. We'll get it verified.
okay.
Just a comment, I think, looking at the map, it didn't look like there was a black razor it's noted approximate, or there was a mark on the map that indicated something nearby, so.
Right, but IFNW wrote a letter.
Yeah, I mean, I think an update covered it.
All right.
Okay. And while we're on Fish and Wildlife, eventually, I think if you have open space, you are going to approach someone who's going to manage it or no?
We may go to a conservation holder. Roy Stearns recommended the Great Thicket. We worked on turning over a parcel that we had in conservation in Elliott to the Great Thicket program. The Great Thicket program encourages the establishment of New England cottontails. They have this in New Hampshire. New Hampshire's been buying farmland, and turning it into scrub shrub and forests by New England cottontails. So
Don't forget your bobolinks.
yeah.
Yeah, that's part of my burden. Okay.
In the original Meadow Pond subdivision, was that designed in that?
No, I don't believe so.
I was just gonna say, if there is, potentially it could be
Yeah, and
turned over to the city. collector, but-
we'd have to get that homeowners association to agree, of course, because we
Yeah.
don't have any controlling interest.
But I'm just saying it would make sense
Yeah,
if
it
it
would.
was
I agree.
in one trust to use the same one.
All right.
If they're in it.
Hannah, I'm gonna go back to you on your memo,
Yes,
on then whatever next issue, traffic impact assessment.
yeah,
Did you think it says there has to be more done? What exactly are we looking for?
great question. This
Okay,
was input from our transportation guru in our office. Essentially. I cannot speak tonight. Essentially, he thought it may be necessary to have more information as far as the projected trip distributions, you know. When people are leaving the subdivision, are they going left, are they going right? Which may impact whether or not there is suggested to be a right turn lane or even a left turn lane on Route 4 coming into either the Knights Pond Road, that's the other exit,
Right.
or into Industry Drive, as far as the additional traffic that's concerned. But there's
So,
also a big study going on Route 4 right now, so I don't know how that plays into it.
yeah,
but-
Route 4 is about 10,000 cars per day. I'm sure you saw the traffic assessment report. You just
Yeah.
didn't see the trip gen, because we haven't done a trip gen yet.
Right.
So probably the best way to approach that, Madam Chair, is once we nail down the two accesses, we'll be glad to do a trip gen.
sure. And an evaluation of turning lanes itself.
Yeah, yeah, she'll do that with the trip gen, whether there's a warrant for a left or right. turn.
Jen, okay. Jen, little lingo there. Okay, let's see. Hannah, what else we got? Southern potential trail, open the access. All right, I think we're getting to the end here. So we have a recommendation that we should send this out for a full third-party engineering review. It's a really big project for a small town. And I think we don't perhaps have the in-house expertise to review it. I think it would be in everyone's benefit if we did that. So, and I understand that that falls on the applicant then in terms of money.
I don't think the money's the problem, and I don't have a problem with a third party review. Keep in mind, it's being reviewed by DEP. So the stormwater gets scrutinized. I don't have a problem with third party reviewing our stormwater, but I don't want to have two competing sets of comments, one from the DEP engineer, Dave Wardell, one from the third party engineer. So it'd be nice if they coordinated their reviews together.
I don't see a problem with them coordinating their reviews. Hopefully they come to the same conclusions. So, all right, so we will go through the process of soliciting.
Yep.
I'm looking at you,
Three bids.
3 bids.
You guys will have to vote to send it to third party review, correct? We'll figure out after. Yes, sure.
Nothing personal. All right, good.
I make a motion that we send this to a full third party review of engineering.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, excellent. There are a few other small things then, and Hannah, this is a question for you. We were gonna schedule a site walk. But in light of the third party review, is that something we should then postpone and also a public hearing? But should we also postpone waiting to get the third party review back?
I don't think there's a reason to wait for the sidewalk at least.
All right,
I don't think engineering review is going to change what's there right now. As far as the
you
sidewalk
never
is
know what could
concerned.
happen. Okay, getting out my calendar.
Public hearing probably similarly. But that's up to you. Often the sidewalk and public hearing are the same day that the applicant comes back. So if you wanted to
Right.
wait until we had their next submission to do that, or do it on a separate meeting. I don't know how you typically.
So hold on a second. So where they're at now, okay, so this is just for procedure for them. They've decided to send this out for third party review for the engineered part of this, okay? They can schedule a sidewalk, they can schedule a public hearing, that's all fine. How should they proceed? They're at preliminary now. Should they stay at preliminary now, or should they move into a final plan? Stay at
I
preliminary.
wouldn't proceed to final plan until you have the engineering. review.
That is correct. Okay, so if you want to do a public hearing or in the site walk, to schedule it, I wouldn't schedule it for the 3rd. I would schedule it, you should schedule it for the next meeting after that.
Okay, so May 17th, Usually we have our sidewalks in the morning. I'm already having it, like, we're the ones who are, and we invite you to join us if you would like.
So hold on, so Anna, if they scheduled it for the 3rd, would you be able to get a memo together for them and do the things that you need to do on your end? I know that Lee J said that we probably have to skip meetings in between.
Mhm.
The next day would be the 17th.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you would want a memo on unless they have more information in 2 weeks. To,
Because I don't really have any more information.
They're not gonna have more information, but if they come back, if we do the site walk and the public hearing for the 3rd, then we can also get bids from engineers, proposals from the engineers. That's gonna be doing the 3rd-party review before then, and they can come back for the public hearing, the site walk. We can do the site walk, do the public hearing, and they can accept one of the, and we can get them sent out that night, so the quicker the better.
Yeah.
If you have no part in it and it doesn't.
yeah,
I would
there's
do the
nothing
3rd.
that I'd be reviewing in the interim.
All right. Is there a possibility of doing the site walk prior to our planning board meeting?
Of course.
So,
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 3rd, can folks make 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
5:30?
5:15, a little bit after 5.
5:30, no stress, 5:30. Okay. So 5:30, and please, Berwick, you are welcome to attend.
And you're gonna do the public hearing, but we already have one set for 7 PM, so you're gonna have to stagger that and maybe do 7:10 for this project.
Sure, that would be fine, and we will set a public hearing as well. The sooner the better, I always say.
Yeah.
So,
Do we need to vote for that?
So the other
So
thing,
we're gonna send-
Madam Chair, perhaps,
please,
if we're doing the site walk, we might want to just park, go down Industry Drive, we'll park at the end,
yes, that's fine.
we'll go in from there.
Yeah, that's fine. That's, yes, thank you.
What's the date again?
Okay.
At
So 5:30 at the site, down Industry Drive, okay, on the Wednesday, May 3rd.
I know that the Berwick Planning Board knows this, but our South Berwick Planning Board doesn't. SMPDC sent out a communication that they need 2 weeks. To, like, if we need Hannah for something, we have to give her notice for 2 weeks ahead of time. That's why we canceled for the last time.
Right.
That's why I asked her what I asked her.
Right.
So going forward, if we need her to do anything, we have to alert her 2 weeks prior. Yeah.
I will ask, can we get, I don't know if you can stake, you don't have to go crazy because it's a huge,
Yeah,
development,
We'll
but
flag the road, and like, in the circle.
you'll make sure we can understand where the road
Yes.
is, right, great, thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem.
Okay, and the limits.
Yeah.
All right, I don't think there's anything else we need to vote on tonight.
We need to vote to set the public hearing, correct?
No, that's an ordinance change.
Okay. Okay, great, excellent, thank you very much, you can hang out for 1 sec, we're about to wrap it up,
Madam Chair,
oh.
this is Attorney Mark Lawrence. I don't mean to gate crash,
Please,
no pun intended, but is there any opportunity for Meadow Pond HSA to address at this point?
well, technically, you have to wait for the public hearing, but, like I say, pretty loosey-goosey, so please, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Attorney Mark Lawrence. I've been hired by Meadow Pond HSA to monitor this and to help them address it. I mean, from their perspective, this is a very dangerous and would have a tremendous negative impact on the Meadow Pond Estates development that's in there if traffic is allowed to go through Meadow Pond's estate. What Samville is talking about is attaching at the most dangerous part of the Meadow Pond Estates development, which is the cul-de-sac at the very end. Meadow Pond was not designed when it went through the planning board to have 35 additional homes put in there. It's a very twisting, curving road. It's not a straight shot. Visibility is very difficult for people driving through. Tony Palazzetti, who's the president of the HSA, is here today. He has a video which he's happy to share with the planning board of driving that in there, but you'll see as it gets down to the house, it twists and turns, and it's designed to be very curvy at that end. So Samville attaching at this most congested part on the twisty and turny part of the Meadow Ponds estate is going to create a danger for those people existing there. The houses attach at that very end. The houses have their driveways at the very end where that cul-de-sac is. So they're going to be people leaving Sandville and coming through Meadow Pond are going to be driving through all the houses that were designed there, and they weren't designed to have all that traffic going through. There, I have looked through the Sewell traffic study, but it doesn't look at all at the traffic within Meadow Pond and what impact Sandville will have on it. It only looks at the intersection, the exit points on Route 4 and out on the other road. It doesn't consider what's going to be the impact. The traffic will be coming through there from Sandville at the busiest times. They're going to be driving in the morning and the evening, going to and from work. When people are out there taking their kids to school, walking their dogs, coming back from work, out walking. So Meadow Pond was not designed to be an access road for a 35-unit development. And we simply ask that the planning board take this into account, look at the traffic in Meadow Pond, and see if Meadow Pond was designed to handle 35 new homes driving with traffic driving through it in this process. And I haven't heard anything, before you set up for the public hearing, I haven't heard anything suggested by the planning board to begin to look at that aspect of this.
Well, that's not entirely true, Mark. I mean, we've been struggling with which way to come in, and there has to be two access points. And we did actually, in our last meeting and this meeting again, discuss what was the most viable way to get this done. There doesn't seem to be a great solution in either way. There is a problem coming in through an industry drive, right? In that there's a lot of big machinery and it's not really meant to have residential traffic through it. And we also are sympathetic, I think, to the fact that people who already live there don't want more traffic coming through either. So on the other hand, well, there's no other hand. That is a dilemma that I think we've been trying to grapple with and come up with some solutions to. And it might have to be some type of compromise. And whether that's traffic calming on the other side, which I suspect people won't be happy about either, or making it one way, or giving people some amount of access. So some people go one way and others go another. I don't know. I'm not a traffic expert, but let's wait for the traffic study to come out again. And when we have a public hearing, we'll take this up.
My point just is, Madam Chair, that when you say traffic study, there is no study that I know of or have seen of the traffic flow within Meadow Pond.
Madam Chair.
Please hold on a sec. Let's hear from Kim.
Mr. Lawrence, you probably know this, but there were two approved plans, phase 1 and phase 2 for Meadow Pond. Phase 1 was approved in 2004 and phase 2 was approved in 2006. When phase 1 was approved, there was a 50-foot wide right-of-way extension to phase 2. And when phase 2 was approved, there was a 50-foot wide right-of-way extension to this parcel. To say that it comes on a curvy point of road is inaccurate. It actually this road would come in at the end of the Meadow Pond Road cul-de-sac, but looking left is 400 feet of road, a straight section of road. That's why when civil consultants designed it, they designed it on that portion of the road and they included a 50-foot right-of-way. If I was purchasing a lot next to 174 acres, or if I was purchasing a lot in a subdivision next to 174 acres, and I saw a 50-foot right-of-way off of my road, I would certainly question where is that going and what's going to happen in that 174 acres. So I believe that most of the first-time buyers of Meadow Pond Estates and anyone who did due diligence as a subsequent buyer would have realized there's 174 vacant acres and there's a right-of-way going to that from my road. But when the traffic engineer comes for the public hearing, hopefully the residents of Meadow Pond Estates will be here and we'll be glad to answer any questions.
Is it possible to incorporate part of their concerns into your traffic study?
Yeah, I think the way I'd like to do that is I'm going to get back to you with some of the suggestions on posting the road, having that one-way section of Oscar be one-way. And when she hears the concerns from Meadow Pond and we decide what the access is going to be, we can do a full trip gen. I believe we could include the 18 lots on Meadow Pond and include them and route that traffic out to Knights Pond or route that traffic through. So she can model whatever the board would like. You know, if you'd like 35 lots of phase 3 modeled to Knights Pond, left and right, and Route 4 left and right, that's fine. And maybe one option is you'd like 35 lots plus the phase 1, phase 2 of Meadow Pond, those additional 18 lots, and let's see the difference in trip gen. I think that's simple enough to do. We're glad to do it.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Please.
Mr. Lawrence, if, and I think we've made some progress this evening that would make the people who have hired you happy in the fact that we've eliminated the gate. And I hope that you can see and they can see that one is a good compromise, but two, it actually reduces the amount of traffic that would be coming in on Meadow Pond Estates roughly by half. And I think as the developer, if they're willing to do that, and we were to keep Industry Drive as a two-way, I think that's a really good compromise and it, you know, is the best outcome for the people you represent. And I hope you can deliver that message. And I would ask, is there any law that specifically precludes the development from, you know, continuing that road with the curve the way it is? And I don't believe there is. I could be mistaken, sir.
No, I don't believe there is, but I believe in planning ordinances, you have to take into account traffic impact on the current development. And when the developer says, well, there's a right of way reserve, nobody knows how many lots we're going to put in there. Nobody knows what it's going to be used for. This literally triples the traffic on Meadow Pond. And I can see actually the Meadow Pond people are sitting right behind you. So I can see their expression on their faces. And this really doesn't, you know, seem to make them happy. And it's their children, their families that they're concerned about.
It doesn't triple it, of course, it doubles it. If you had 18 lots and you add 35, that would be doubling the traffic, not tripling it. And when the phase 1 and phase 2 plans were done, and I didn't do them, Mark, so I can't take the responsibility for them, but there was always a master plan for the third phase. And I was informed that at least a lot of the first time homeowners saw that plan. Again, I didn't do it, but there was a master plan and it was available. Can Carol speak, Madam Chair?
Sure.
Carol, would you like to please?
Yeah. I just want to, Mr. Lawrence, why?
I'm sorry, can you just state your name and
Carol.
address? And an address?
Oh, Durham, New Hampshire.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's all. Mr. Lawrence, when we were developing that part, phase 1, I remember at the time, each lot as it was being built and being, evident, and obviously being sold individually, every one of those homeowners were told at the time, now whether it's been resold onto someone else and then the message hasn't been passed, but every one of the original homeowners were told it was just the beginning. This subdivision was the beginning of more of the same.
Okay, all right.
What,
Okay.
I'm sorry, sir.
All right, we're gonna, thank you. Are you good? Good. Thank you.
But everyone was told that when they were buying it.
All right, we're getting into a discussion when, we allowed Mark to speak and a little bit back and forth, but we're gonna have a public hearing, so please save comments till then, okay? I appreciate that. Well, thanks.
Madam Chair,
I have to say this,
Please.
you have scheduled for a site walk and an immediate public hearing. My humble opinion, until we see what the final plan is going to look like after the third party has completed their review and presented them to the board, something that you can review, we're going to be going out there looking at today's plan but we don't know what tomorrow's plan is gonna be. So we're out there doing a site walk. And then you ask for public input. We're gonna be providing you input based on that plan, not the final plan after it's been reviewed. And the other thing I would ask, if you're gonna go to Industry Drive for the site visit, you're missing the point of the homeowners association. You need to, there's no way in the current conditions that we could all drive down through where the development is gonna take place and out onto Meadow Pond. So I think you need to allow for additional time so that both ends of this could be evaluated, because there is an impact on both sides.
Okay. Pat,
Yes, I'm just speaking with my Conservation Commission hat on.
Please.
You are supposed to invite Conservation Commission to the site plan, the new ordinance.
you're right, I'm
To the
sorry.
site, and I did not hear when the date is scheduled. To
May
find out if
3rd.
I can make it or someone else can.
May 3rd, Wednesday, before planning, 5:30, Wednesday.
Okay, I can't make that.
Is there someone else from the Conservation Commission you can send?
All right, I'll have to ask.
So it seems like we heard from Hannah that there won't be, that the things that we've requested for you won't impact whatever we need to evaluate during a public hearing or at our site walk. I've actually already been out there. It's a field. I've gone through Meadow Pond Estates. Everyone is welcome to do that on their own, I guess, if we don't feel like we're gonna have enough time in an hour, though I think we will. I know it's a bit of a walk from Industry Drive and that it's undeveloped, so people should wear their muck boots. And remember, it's tick season. But I think we should be able to have that move forward on the 3rd. So, I think we'll have enough information, and also we're not moving ahead yet. We're still in prelim. And so we'll have plenty of time to evaluate, as we move forward. And if there are things that come up or radically change when we get more information, we'll take that into consideration and continue on. So you will be heard. Okay. Anything else? Excellent. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ken, for appearing. I appreciate that.
Seconded.
All in favor? Still only.